Okay guys, this is the next topic we are going to discuss today, which is effective communication, right? So what's effective communication and why do we need it, right? Okay, now the main thing about effective communication is the ability to communicate effectively for the purpose of our success, right? That's the main thing, right? We need to know that, right? Okay, so now there are some key important things that we need to know about effective communication. First is building relationship, right? Why? Why do we want to build relationship? Because we need to build trust, understanding, for a stronger relationship between us and our colleagues in our working environment, or even when you go for an interview, right? So second is it improves productivity, right? How does it improve productivity? By efficient task completion over a period of time. When you have good communication skill with your friends, with your colleagues, you are able to complete your task much more effectively. So thus improves productivity. Next, it reduces conflict. How does it reduce conflicts? We can resolve our disagreement with effective communication skills, right? Okay, and then finally, it enhances decision making, right? Okay, it exchange of diverse perspective leading to well-informed and well-considered decisions if you have effective communication between you and your colleagues and you and your bosses, right? Now, there are obviously some barriers to effective communication, right? For example, in this room right now, right, I'm standing in front here. The people at the back, if they can't hear me clearly, that's an issue with poor acoustics, right? They can't hear me, right? So what do we need to do? We need to have some equipment, for example, a mic, speaker, right? So that it can reach out to them, right? And then crowded spaces. In crowded spaces, I'm sure you've been to shopping centers or you in a coffee shop. You hear other people talking. One of our trainers told me before this that he was doing a training in Starbucks and he could hear people talking right next to them. That's an example of crowded spaces. And then technological issue, right? Too many technologies, we don't know how to use them, right? This is the main issue we face today, right? We can't use the technologies. We need the Asians to help us handle it, right? Okay? Psychological barrier, right? Emotion, attitude, or bias can distort our message, right? Okay? For example, prejudice, stress, or lack of trust. These are the factors, right? Even including anger or emotions that you have, right? You may get upset with your colleague and thus you cannot speak to them in a proper manner. So that's why effective communication is necessary. And then cultural bias. For example, difference between language barriers, right? Language differences, the way we speak, our accents, these are very important. We also need non-verbal cues. Non-verbal cues are normally not present when we have discussion. And also social norms. Let me give you one social norm, right? When I'm presenting like this is Malaysia. In Malaysian scenario, we don't point fingers at people to tell them. What do? We use our thumb and hand. We close it like this and we point at someone, right? For example, if I want to call the person at the back there, I show like this. Okay, if you don't feel very comfortable doing this, then you can use your whole hand. You can just speak to a person and point your hand at them, right? That's one way, right? Now, there are some strategies involved in verbal communication, right? First is active learning, right? What does it mean is you pay full attention to the person you are speaking to. Look at them, speak to them as if you are speaking to yourself or you're speaking to a loved one, right? Pay full attention, ask clarifying questions, and demonstrate understanding. These are the important factors, right? Second is clear and concise language. Always use simple, direct language and avoid jargon, right? Jargon is short form. For example, we teach DevOps, we have this word called kubectl, for example, right? Okay, so don't use jargons like that, or don't say things like GUI. People don't understand, right? Not everyone understands those words, right? Now, be positive and have a respectful tone. Use a friendly tone and avoid accusatory or critical language, right? We must never raise our voice when we speak to people, even if you are dissatisfied with them. In a working environment, there should not be any such languages used, right? Finally, feedback and confirmation. Once you get feedback from your listener, right? The better the feedback, the better you are able to communicate effectively, right? Okay, now, there are some non-verbal communication techniques, right? The first one is eye contact. Always maintain eye contact. Earlier I mentioned to you about pointing at someone with the hand like this, right? I'm pointing my hand like that, or I'm pointing my hand like this, right? So make eye contact when you're calling out someone, right? For example, I can just point my hand and say to the person, speak to me, right? Answer my question, right? This is called eye contact. Using gestures, appropriate hand gestures, right? You've been watching me, I've been talking with my hands, right? So if, for example, I say, I'm really happy, right? Or if I meet someone, you don't want to handshake with them, you put your hand on the chest. These are examples of gestures, right? It's useful to emphasize your point. That's the purpose of gestures. Then we have facial expression, right? If you show emotions, do not show those emotions which are temperamental. Show happiness, right? Seriousness, right? When you're pointing a point out to persons, you want them to listen to you, be more serious, right? Be clear, right? And if you're happy with the response you get with people, always smile, right? Or say thank you, well done, right? Many ways. Then body language, maintain open posture. Always stand in a straight, open posture. When you're talking to someone, right? Or if you're presenting, don't do this. Don't rest on the table. I've seen trainers do this. Or they put their hands very inconveniently on the table like this, for example. Don't do that, right? Use your hands clearly. Make your hands visible to people. Do not put your hands in your pocket. Do not put your hands in your jacket pocket, right? Do not put your hands in your pants pocket or even in your back pocket. Always keep your hands on both sides. This will project a very confident presenter, right? Okay? Now, active listening, right? We need to learn how to pay attention to people. This is something that we lack today in the modern world. Most people are with mobile phones, right? They're always playing with their mobile phone, right? They're always doing this, right? They're scrolling up and down, right? All the while, and not listening to anyone, right? So we want you to pay attention, right? When someone is talking, pay attention, focus on the speaker, avoid distractions, and make eye contact, right? Summarize and clarify. Repeat key points to confirm understanding and ask clarifying questions. It's very important. If you're presenting, for example, for 2 or 3 hours in a session, right? Or you are having an interview, you spend the last 15 minutes talking about yourself. Summarize it at the end of the presentation. Summarize it at the end of the interview. And then emphasize and validate. Acknowledge the speaker's feeling and perspective even if you don't agree, right? Easiest way is to just nod your head. That's the easiest way. Nod your head. So people feel he is listening to me, right? Even though if you disagree with him, right? Now, especially you don't want an argument, so avoid arguments with people and focus on presenting to them in the first place, right? And then avoid interruptions. Allow speakers to finish their thoughts before offering your own. Always let the other person finish the sentence, right? Because normally arguments start when 2 people start talking at the same time. They start raising voice, they start arguing one another, and it ends up that they are going into a fight. And argumentation is not an effective communication method, right? Okay, now, also provide constructive feedback. Focus on behavior, describe specific action, not personality trait. Be timely, always be on time, right? If you're called for a meeting, always be on time. Give feedback as soon as possible after the event, not during the event, right? Okay, in certain scenarios, you may be able to ask the questions to the presenter while he's presenting, right? Or if the presenter told you, ask me a question anytime, then it's fine. But if he did not say that, if he did not inform you, they can ask you a question during the presentation, don't do that, right? Avoid that. Next one is offer solution. Suggest ways to improve or overcome challenges. If you are giving people problems, you're telling people a problem, you don't give them a solution, they may not appreciate it as much as you expect, right? So two-way communication is not only about telling people your problem but also explaining to them how they can improve themselves or how they can find the answers, right? And then be specific, provide concrete examples to illustrate your points, right? Examples are always good because it helps people understand what you're teaching them or what you're explaining to them, or in an interview especially, right? For example, you're attending an interview, right? Sorry, your name is Sam, you're attending an interview, right? And you have done a project before this, right? Just say you have done a full stack project and it's now on your GitHub, right? So you can always describe to the person, okay, I'm a full stack engineer and my project is available on GitHub. I did a project on so and so topic, right? That would actually attract the attention to listen to you more, to try to understand what you have to offer to them, right? And then always use I statement. I means take ownership. Take ownership of your project, or of your product, or of the idea that you are trying to tell to people, right? Okay. Now, finally, improving communication in the workplace, right? How do we improve communication in the workplace? We have regular meeting. We schedule regular team meeting to discuss progress, address any challenges, and share our updates. That's one method, right? Regular meeting. Second is open communication channel, right? You must always have feedback from people. Keep the channels open, right? If you're working in a large project, for example, you're programmers, you're working in a large project, right? Always let them have a channel where they can speak to you, so that the the programmers do not get tired of doing the work, or they are confused, or they are stressed. We don't want that in a company, right? Okay, so open communication channel, active listening training, invest in training programs. Send your trainees, send your staff for training on how to listen actively and improve their listening skills, right? And then finally, clear communication policies, establish clear guidelines for communication, including your email, right? Now, writing email, I've seen this quite often. People write everything in capitals, or they don't follow the format. They don't address the person properly in the right way, right? For example, in Malaysia, if you're speaking to a person who is titled Dato, it's necessary to put the title on the front. If you're speaking to a doctor, right, the word doctor on the front, right? Okay, if the person clearly indicated to you he's not interested in title, he don't mind, then do not write it. The rest of the time, you should make sure that you write all these details, right? Okay, so we will stop here. We'll continue back after lunch with a tool for technology, right, which is called Miro, right? Okay, let's go for lunch.